Hi, it's Jimmy Ralph, the CEO of Board of Advisors, and we're here at the Ritz-Carlton in Las Colinas, just outside of Dallas, for the Board of Advisors quarterly meeting, where we meet here with some of the best entrepreneurs, investors, seekers of capital, professionals from all different aspects of business, and we've got a good 100 of us or so down the at the end of the hall here that are doing deals and getting ideas and partnering and exploring new business opportunities, improving the existing ones. And we've got one of the elite members here, Eric Zwigart, who is in all aspects of the funding side and the capital side of the business. And he'll tell you about that story, because I'm going to ask him some poignant questions that cause him to do it. He's a wonderful human being, a wonderful businessman, and I'm proud to have you be my friend and proud to have you in our membership.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate it.
So, why don't you just give us a little overview of the company, and then I'm going to ask you to kind of dig in there deep and tell us some stories and some wins and some just catch that highlight for us.
You got it. So it's Rock Solid Capital Investments. We're a real estate fund that does fix and flips and basically a territory fund. So the vision and the model is to go across the country, giving each territory a business in a box. Each territory has an already established fix and flipper. But what happens is they get so fragmented with capital raising, running a project, finding a project, and doing it all, they can't get enough going scale-wise. They typically do well, but they might not do as well if they had some help on the fundraising side. So we bring in accounting, SOPs, architecture help, and the most important is the money. So we give them the funds to put the down payments down in the construction, and then the bank gives them 85%. So we're really filling in the 15% down payment in the construction with investors' money, and that's what we raise for. So we're kind of a partner with them, and then we split profitability after that. But that's the vision of Rock Solid Capital Investments. It's the funding arm of Rock Solid Asset Partners and Rock Solid Partners. So that's the deal.
Right. So that 85% is that's collateralized at the bank.
The bank.
And then you've got the at-risk part, if you will.
Yeah.
But then you provide. You were talking about SOPs and so forth. So you provide that
underwriting,
that structure that a lot of entrepreneurs don't quite have yet.
Correct. And
right?
Also, and I hope to bring those type of folks to B of A and those members. I mean, we're looking to get to 30, 40 territories. So those folks need some guidance. They're entrepreneurs. Maybe they're not going to get to the level of going across the country, or some of the businesses that you or myself have been involved in, large monthly and yearly businesses. But we're going to give them some standards to get to. I mean, accounting even help, and connectivity. So you've got people to count on, and then also give them that community feel of us being where they're at. Well, we run our own territories in Southern California and some luxury ones, but once we get across the country, the buy box is probably 400 to 1.2 million in houses. It's like
describe the buy box to me.
So their buy box, let's say you're in Indianapolis, the houses they're looking at, it may be 400 to 1.2. Whereas I just bought, we just got done with doing one that's 3.9, and we're selling it for 10.3 in Newport Beach. It's incredible. So that type of thing is not, you're not going to see that all over the country,
right,
or in Indy or in Dallas, or, all kinds of markets are going to be out there. But the thing is that I like about it, it's a product. And whereas sometimes you get to real estate and the multifamily, they lock you in for about 3 to 5 years, whereas we're in and out of these things in 6 months. And we offer a really high interest rate to our investors. So we offer 20, 22, and 26% to our investors. And so they're in that range of that 20% up to 26%. And so given that fact, you can kind of go and it's top of the market. You see it, the advertising, and it's eye-popping, and they wonder how we do it. Well, we turn it twice. So I do 2 houses in that year, which cuts my interest rate in half. So really, I'm almost to hard money. I'm almost to that 85%. The bank charges about 10, 11%. Right. I cut that interest rate in half from the investors when I do 2 properties with their money in a year. So I hold their money for a year, but I flip it twice. And then if they want to keep it in there, keep rolling it, they get monthly payouts too. So they're monthly paid out at 22, 26, 22%.
Okay.
So,
and are those separated from other business sectors? You have a couple sectors within the program,
exactly.
Right? So we kind of toggled in and out of those. So can you?
So we're an actual operator as well. So you've got the investment capital that comes in here with rock solid capital investments. Then you've got the operating companies. That's the entity that's going to do the work on the houses, get your contractors, do the project management, those type of things. And then you've got a holding.
And that's your company.
And that's my company.
Okay.
So that's like a trilateral piece there. But when you go into a territory, they also have that same system. They've got an operating company. Their monies are coming from us, so they don't need the capital raising entity. But they've got the operating company and they've got the holding companies to hold the properties to keep them safe. So we keep them safe over here, and then we've got the operating company, and we show them business in a box, connectivity, and then they can market throughout that, and they can also do some, essentially some pyramid marketing if they have friends and family they want to bring into the system. The points that we give a little bonus, so they can actually get points off everybody's deal they bring in after them.
So it's somewhat self-fulfilling. Or are you actively seeking new partners to continue to fund your growth? It's got to be quite an interesting balancing act of almost
when to do it.
It happens in every business, right?
Yeah.
When are we on the gas? When are we coasting? And how do you get the whole picture to come together correctly?
So it's a great question. So basically, the money's the key. So we know what our money level is, and at each when the investors come in and take care of the projects that we have available, then we go to add that next territory. And so the next phase of things is, as this capital raising keeps continuing with rock solid capital investments, we're adding on territories. We've added on 2 in the last 3 months, and we've got 6 in the wings. And so the goal is to get to about 36 to 50 territories within, I think we have on our goal another 36 months. That will bring us to a really nice EBITDA, and it will bring us to a nice position of potentially exit at someday as the corporate exit entity of $100 million plus.
So basically a territory a month for the next 36 months.
Yes.
And you'll look a couple of years older.
Yes, probably
more than 36 months older.
Well, now that I'm with B of A, I've got systems. Carl Gold has brought in some systems, so he's trying to raise me out of the business a little bit. So hopefully it's working like a machine without me having to be so involved in the businesses. But I've always been in there, and it's hard to get me out of there. But I do want to kind of come out a little bit.
Right. Well, you've got that personality that there's certain things only you can do. But I wholeheartedly agree with you. If you've got I've frankly thought, for the most part, a medium-sized business is easier to run than a small business. There's some places then when you go from medium to large that it still maybe is easier. It certainly is not as much fun though. That middle area, because you're still doing what you're great at and what you love to do.
Sure.
And that's that middle ground, which sounds like that's where you're thinking of the exit in that.
In that middle ground.
That 36.
Yeah, and that middle ground is where I think the exit is. And I always thought, well, are you then just kind of coasting and things are working and you just stay with the constant nice flow of some cash flow, or are you looking to exit? And I think, given what happened in my past, I don't know, we didn't touch on that yet, but I had quite a big oil company, and I was doing $150 million a year and won Entrepreneur of the Year and things like that. Things were cruising, and then hit COVID. And as an oil company, I thought I was doing some help, and I got into hand sanitizer. Well, I got so far into it so quickly, I somehow thought I became the hand sanitizer king of the world. And I was making 30,000 gallons a day of hand sanitizer within 30 days of just coming up with the idea. So we were just pumping it out of machines. I had all the equipment and the bottles and the things to do it. Well, lo and behold, everybody knows that kind of crashed, and no one, schools shut down and whatnot. And the usage of hand sanitizer saturated. Everyone has it in their closet or whatever. So that's where I ended up with 100 truckloads and warehouses all over the country, and cash flow blew up. And so that kind of melted me down. And
I heard about guys like you. I didn't know who they were, though. I didn't know I knew one with the container loads.
Oh,
and just,
100 of them in my warehouses.
Issue. Yeah, it costs you a fortune to keep them, even.
Oh, to keep them, and it costs you a fortune to get rid of them. So, at Walmart at one point was giving away 10 cents an ounce or 10 cents a bottle. So it really kind of was one of those blow up meltdowns. And I think obviously I stayed in too long, got a little greedy. And that's why my companies are all called Rock Solid now, because I want to build on the rock, not on any sand there. So biblically, that's the reference there. But, doing 150 million a year, 150 employees, I learned a lot about business. I have a lot of knowledge on business. I have a lot of feelings on what makes sense and not make sense. So, hopefully that helps me rebuild faster. But to your point, the exit really made me focus on my kids. So that meltdown made me focus on the kids, and it makes me think about that exit because I only have so much time with them. And I've got two twins that are 11 and super cute. And I love being in their life now, which I wasn't when I was doing all of that, running around for that bigger company. So now I'm really starting to enjoy their lives, and I'm in it a lot more and coach, and I love it.
That's great. That's really great. We'll come back to that in a minute because I've had some fun podcasts this week with BA members that are experiencing that. Probably a disproportionate amount that are in BA. Sure. Maybe it's because of some of these individuals, but more than just your ordinary entrepreneurial event where they haven't caught on to that yet. But I'm with you, and I feel your pain because first of all, I don't know that anybody's gone a whole career without a disaster.
Yeah, well, I thought everything I touched turned to gold until it didn't, and then everything you touch, it turns to something else, completely opposite of gold. So
no, and I've been there. I was actually there during both big situations, right? I was a very young entrepreneur at one time, and I'd kind of hit a pretty decent level of growth and success at 9/11.
Oh yeah.
And I happened to be in a retail business. The capital dried up instantly. All the clauses they could trigger to bail from retail, they were triggering. And I ended up having to dip a company, a retail company that had a bunch of leases that we couldn't build out.
Sure.
And shrink it down, get the investors their money back, go through that agony for 2.5 years just to get back to where I could say, okay, what am I doing now? Because you have to fix the messes. I mean, that's what,
absolutely, and that's what B of A would help me with. Is I didn't have anybody to turn to at the time. I had attorneys only at that point and then my employees, everybody was kind of off limits. It just turns into a mess. And then all I have is attorneys to advise me, and I'm trying to do that because I'm thinking just legally be sound, and banks, and you got all kind of things happening, and so. $150 million company melting down is not fun. Mm-hmm. So to go through that kind of taught me that lesson. But a B of A relationships and friendships and being able to bounce things off of folks and doing it in a real big crisis moment, I would have done exactly what you did. I had all the customers still wanting to stay. No one wanted to leave. Even when we started shorting them, no one wanted to leave. All I did just needed to restructure. Mm-hmm. And so I could have taken some money out of properties, had plenty of equity, taken money out of properties, done the restructure with it, and probably had some stalking horses. Maybe the 150, goes down to 90, but we would have been a profitable 90.
Right.
And all the, the stuff that I was building out there would have went on hold, but then it could have been built later, and I'd had, still had that. But the one thing I think about is I probably, if I would have saved it, I still wouldn't have reverted back to being with my boys as much and my family.
Yep.
And family, so having that dive in took me to them.
Mm-hmm. Do you know George Rivera? And oh gosh, you got to talk to him. So
okay.
He's one of our members, and I got to do a podcast with him earlier in the week, and it was I didn't really know what we were getting into because he's fairly new, and he literally he'd been running that 80-hour track that we've all ran, and he and it happened during COVID. He had the epiphany during COVID because he was sitting there, with a I think he had a sliding glass door. He had an improvised office that he was using, and there was a sliding glass door between him and the living room. And his I think 4 or 5 year old son would keep coming up to him, and then he'd like draw a picture or color something, and he'd hold it up to the window. And George said, I went along with that for a while, and I'd say, I'd give him a thumbs up out of the view of the Zoom camera or one of those or what have you, and kind of, I'll be there in a minute. And he said, I had this epiphany one day when I said, my God, I'm teaching my son to not communicate with me.
Right.
I'm telling him go away, basically. And I thought I was being a cool dad by, giving him a
thumbs up or okay.
And basically he felt that his son was saying, well, I guess there's no real need to do that anymore. I don't get anything back for it. Yeah. And so he really changed his life dramatically and took a bet on the fact that if he simplified his life by getting rid of his larger business, he had 2 businesses. He got rid of the larger one, took a big hit short term on his income, kept the smaller business that he could have a better family life.
Sure.
And because he was a happier, more productive person working half the time, that business surpassed what they did combined in a couple of years. He said it was a painful couple of years, but then he's written a book on 18 summers. We only get 18 summers with our kids.
Okay,
you've got to meet him. You'll love him.
I love that.
You guys will get along really well.
That sounds so. It just hits the nail on the head there, because that's really what happened. I mean, I see that, and now I feel it, and I still, it's really hard sometimes to just be like, I need a break. I need it sometime. Mm-hmm. But then I find myself going back in, and I for sure spend so much more time and so much more love, and it's important. I know, because my dad passed away being a ADHD entrepreneur all his life, and there was a relationship gap in all of his relationships, and we always wanted to know why. Well, now I get it and I see it, and it's not always business. Mm-hmm. It's really getting a hold of both and having a good balance. But sometimes the money doesn't equal that family time.
It's such a tough subject and such a tough situation for all of us. I mean, we have so much zest as entrepreneurs
and gifts,
gifts and zest, and
mm-hmm.
and we believe we can do probably more than we can, and
sure.
we think we can tie all that together and take care of everything. Right? We can fix the world.
Yeah.
If you just give me a minute.
Yeah. Right.
and you say that, just give me a minute enough times, and it adds up to hours and days and years, and it's a blessing and a curse all at the same time, but guys like us make the most of that. I don't think I've ever seen you when you weren't smiling.
No, so, I'm always smiling.
And the smiling
one way
is the
or
life
another
of the party. Yeah, and you make other people smile. So that's just terrific.
Thanks, Jim.
So wow, what else do you do?
So getting out of
11 are the 11-year-olds? Are they twins? Okay,
twins.
All right.
So soccer's a ton.
Mm-hmm.
Soccer's a ton, and I get them every other week, and we coach and I mean, 6-8 hours a week in soccer stuff with them. So that's cool. But outside of that, I do. So I'm in some other companies. I've got LCP, Legacy Capital Professionals, and as my partner, one of my partners, Jerry, brought me into B of A, and MindTune is another project that's in B of A that Marco Lopez is involved in. But basically private equity, and then we have this capital raising piece of LCP, which is my vertical, which is called LCP Marketing, LCPMKTG.com. You can go to. It's a complete package to have a business, business or anybody that's raising capital, business, professionals, someone wants to get in a business, whatever you want to do, you want to raise capital, you need capital, you go to LCP Marketing, LCPMKTG.com, and we have a system that gives you a fund to start with an attorney if you need one, and if you don't have one already. And then you've got your investor portal, you've got your SOPs, you've got your SEC learning package that we teach them on, and most importantly, we have the creatives of some very highly sought after professionals that do AI and AI creatives that get your ads and your ad flow. You get a CRM, which is a client relationship manager that manages the accredited investors coming in, and then we fill your calendar up with leads. And then it's up to you to close them if you want to. Or we also have a package that you can go to and get them closed for you and have a sales team. So it's kind of do it yourself up to a certain point, but you're involved in the mix. And then LCP as an overall is the top level company that's run by my good friend and partner, Jerry Conti, and his wife, Jessica. They have more of a do it for you. So everything they do includes a lot of operational support, a partnership, private equity, get in there and really do whatever it takes to help you succeed. And maybe either you want to get to an exit at some point or you want to grow or scale that company, then they throw all of our resources at it, including myself, including all of us with consulting and ideas and how to get through certain things. And then that also brings in the B of A network of people that Jerry knows at that top level. So for me, I'm kind of in that range where, anybody can come to us, and it's more of a volume.
Sounds like it, right?
Yeah, volume play, and maybe you need $1 million or $500,000 or whatever it is, or $2 million or $5 million. But in that range, it's kind of a smaller range, but it's an organic raise. And to be anybody that needs to raise capital can go on this thing and start, raising capital with accredited investors within 30 to 60 days.
Right, and you've got the resources that you've discussed to go to the simplest form of a entrepreneur seeking to raise money is to say, no, you don't need $1 million, you need $2 million.
Yeah,
and no, you're not going to cross over in 8 months. It's going to be 18 months, right?
Exactly.
So I always compare turning around businesses or opening businesses to remodeling or building a house. It's going to take twice as long and cost twice as much, so you may as well budget that.
I know that.
I'm sure
I know that firsthand with this fix and flip. But I have one, in fact, that 3.9 that we bought for 3.9. I thought it would take it 12 months. It's now at 18 months, and it's one of those ones. But I mean, it's just in a great niche. And bought another one for 5.5, and going to sell 9.9. So. Really exciting things in California, but I'm really excited to can't wait until that community expands. And I want to bring those type of folks to BA. I want to bring them to some of those things that they're missing out on, maybe some tax strategies and some business things where I can get in there and say, hey, this is what I've done for a long time. And it might be a husband and wife fix and flip team. And, we have one in Chicago, and they're going to start Illinois off. And so they get to get our resources and get up to speed a lot faster and accelerate things and get that rock solid, capital investment boost.
Well, it's good to get to know you better,
Jimmy.
And I'll see you next time. See you the next quarter. We'll do the same thing, and I think I'll see you on the golf course Friday or tomorrow.
Do it. Tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. All right,
we're on the golf course tomorrow.
Sounds good.
I will. The bets will be flowing as usual, right, Jim?
Yeah, just a skosh after the shots.
Okay, that's right. I like it.
Good news.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right, see you.
Bye-bye.